I didn't know heartbreak could taste like bile until I watched the security footage on my phone. My wife Amanda tangled up with some guy in our bedroom. The same bedroom where we'd shared our dreams, our plans, our most intimate moments. She was laughing with him, laughing in a way she hadn't with me in months. My heart pounded like a war drum, and every breath felt like I was swallowing shards of glass. I wanted to throw the phone against the wall, smash it to pieces, just like my life had shattered in that one agonizing moment. But I couldn't tear my eyes away from the screen. I needed to see it. Needed to burn that betrayal into my memory so I'd never forget how she tore me apart. A sudden wave of nausea hit me, and I barely made it to the bathroom before I threw up. When I finally stopped heaving, I wiped my mouth, stared at my reflection in the mirror, eyes bloodshot, face pale, hands shaking like I'd just come back from a war zone. In a way, I had. A war against the truth that I'd been too blind to see. I couldn't breathe. My mind screamed at me to confront her, to tear the lies out of her mouth, to make her feel every ounce of pain she'd inflicted on me. But I wasn't ready, not yet. I needed more than just footage. I needed answers. I needed the whole, ugly truth. The thing that broke me the most wasn't even seeing them together. It was the way she looked at him. The way she smiled like he was her whole world. She never looked at me like that anymore. Why? What had I done to deserve this? I gave her everything, worked my ass off to provide for her, put up with her mood swings, her never-ending complaints. I thought it was just stress, that maybe we were going through a rough patch. But this was a punch to the gut that knocked the wind out of me. I grabbed the sweater, the one that started this nightmare, and buried my face in it, the scent of cologne mocking me with every breath. I'd been too stupid, too trusting. She'd been lying to my face for God knows how long, and I never saw it coming. That's when I made up my mind. I wasn't just going to confront her. I was going to destroy every lie she'd wrapped around me. I was going to look her dead in the eye and force her to admit it, to feel the same pain she'd inflicted on me. When Amanda came home that evening, I was already waiting in the living room, the sweater draped over my knee like a loaded weapon. My heart pounded, anger boiling under the surface, but I forced myself to stay calm. She walked in, tossed her bag onto the chair, and gave me a brief, uninterested glance. "You're home early," she muttered, barely noticing my clenched fists or the sweater on my lap. "Yeah," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "Had some things to take care of." She didn't even question it, just pulled out her phone and started tapping away. My jaw clenched, and I couldn't help but notice how easy it was for her to act like nothing had changed, like she hadn't just ripped my heart out and stomped on it. I cleared my throat, and she finally glanced up, raising an eyebrow. I held up the sweater. "You still want to tell me this is mine?" Her eyes flickered, just for a split second, but it was enough. I saw the flash of panic before she masked it with annoyance. "Mike, are you seriously still on about that sweater? It's just a piece of clothing. I don't know where it came from." "Liar," I shot back, my voice coming out sharper than I intended. "I know it's not mine. I know it's his. You want to keep lying to my face, Amanda." Her expression hardened, and she crossed her arms, clearly ready to go on the defensive. "You're acting crazy. Maybe you left it somewhere, and someone mixed up the clothes. Why are you blowing this out of proportion?" My phone was still in my hand, the footage just a tap away. But I wasn't ready to show it yet. I wanted to see how far she'd go. How many lies she could spit out before she cracked. "Where were you 2 nights ago?" I demanded, fighting to keep my voice from trembling. She hesitated, then gave me that same indifferent shrug. "At work." "You know that." Another lie. Another stab to the chest. I couldn't take it anymore. I stood up, towering over her, and she looked up at me like I was some pathetic nuisance ruining her evening. "You sure about that?" I challenged, holding up my phone. "Because I just watched you walk in here with some guy, the same night you said you were working late. So, Amanda, want to try telling me the truth now?" Her face went white, lips parting as the reality of what I knew finally sank in. I saw fear flicker across her face, but it was fleeting, replaced almost instantly by defiance. "You're spying on me now," she snapped, like she was the victim here. "That's pathetic, Mike. You're seriously so insecure that you have to stalk me? Grow up." I wanted to scream, to shake her until she admitted everything. But I kept my composure, clenching the phone in my hand so tightly that my knuckles went white. "You cheated on me," I whispered, the words like poison on my tongue. "Just say it. Admit it. Stop lying." She didn't respond, just looked at me with disdain like I was nothing but a nuisance interrupting her day. I knew then that whatever love I'd once felt for her was gone, ripped apart by her betrayal and her shameless lies. But this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I wasn't going to just sit back and let her walk all over me. I had a plan. And by the time I was done, Amanda would regret every single lie she'd ever told me. I wasn't about to let her off that easy. The way Amanda just sat there, acting like I was the one in the wrong for confronting her cheating, like I was some paranoid idiot who just didn't understand how relationships work. It made me sick. My hands were still shaking, but I forced myself to stay calm. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me break down. She looked at me with that same cold, indifferent glare, and I realized something in that moment. She didn't care. Not about me, not about our marriage, not about the years we spent building this life together. It was like I was staring into the eyes of a complete stranger. I almost wished I could hate her for it, but it hurt too much to think about all the love I'd given to someone who could throw it away without a second thought. I needed to get out. The walls felt like they were closing in on me, and I couldn't stand the sight of her just sitting there, scrolling through her phone like nothing had happened. I needed air. Without another word, I grabbed my jacket and stormed out the door, slamming it behind me so hard that the windows rattled. My head was spinning, and I just started walking with no real direction in mind. The night was cool, crisp, and bitterly quiet. My mind kept replaying the footage over and over again, like some sick loop I couldn't escape. Amanda with that guy, Carter, whoever the hell he was, laughing and getting cozy in our bed. I wanted to destroy something. I wanted to punch a hole through the universe and scream until my throat was raw. Eventually, I found myself at the park, the same park where we used to go when we first started dating. Back when Amanda was sweet, carefree, and not the conniving liar I just confronted. I dropped onto a bench, my head in my hands, and forced myself to breathe. This wasn't how my life was supposed to go. I worked hard, took care of her, built a life I thought would last. Now, it felt like it was all for nothing. I knew I had to do something. I couldn't just let her walk all over me like that. Part of me wanted to call her out publicly, let everyone know what kind of person she really was. But that wouldn't fix anything. I needed to be smart, careful. If I made the wrong move, she'd find a way to twist it back on me, make herself the victim. That's what she was good at, manipulating the truth until it fit her narrative. I sat there for what felt like hours, just letting the anger and hurt swirl around inside me. At some point, my phone buzzed, a text from Amanda. I almost didn't want to look, but curiosity got the better of me. Amanda, you seriously just left? Real mature, Mike. We need to talk about this. You're acting insane. Insane? I wanted to laugh, but it came out more like a choked, bitter cough. She was the one screwing some other guy behind my back, and I was the insane one? I took a deep breath and forced myself to reply. Me? Talk about what? The fact that you've been screwing another guy in our bed? Or the fact that you lied to my face over and over again? A few seconds later, my phone buzzed again. Amanda, you're overreacting. It's not what you think. Can you just come home so we can talk like adults? Like adults. Right. Because adults lie to their spouses and cheat behind their backs. My grip tightened on the phone, and I had to resist the urge to hurl it across the park. I wasn't going to let her mess with my head anymore. I needed to play this right. I typed back, trying to keep it as neutral as possible. Me, I'll be home soon. We'll talk then. I needed time to cool down. Time to think. Amanda didn't realize it yet, but I wasn't going to be her doormat anymore. I was done letting her make me feel like I was the problem. She needed to understand that actions had consequences, and I was going to make damn sure she faced every single one of them. My mind started racing with ideas, plans forming and falling apart just as quickly. I didn't just want to confront her. I wanted to expose her lies for what they were. Maybe I should track down this Carter guy, find out exactly what kind of person Amanda was running around with. Or maybe I should hit her where it really hurt, her reputation. Let her friends and family know exactly what she'd done. But that wasn't enough. I needed to take control back. I needed her to see that she couldn't just walk all over me and get away with it. I thought about recording our next conversation, catching her in her lies on tape. Maybe then she wouldn't be able to twist it back on me and make me out to be the crazy one. By the time I headed back home, I had a plan. I'd act calm, rational, and pretend I was willing to hear her out. I'd let her think she had me convinced, and when she dropped her guard, I'd start recording. I wanted her confession, every dirty detail straight from her own mouth. And once I had it, I'd make sure she couldn't deny it ever again. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was about to happen. The walk back to the house felt like marching toward my own execution, but I had to do it. I couldn't run from the truth anymore. When I walked through the door, Amanda was waiting for me, arms crossed and eyes narrowed. The tension was thick enough to choke on, but I kept my face blank. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of knowing how much she'd torn me apart. Are you done being dramatic? She snapped, rolling her eyes. I forced a calm, almost defeated smile. Yeah, let's talk. She raised an eyebrow, clearly not expecting me to back down so easily. I pulled out my phone and placed it on the coffee table, screen down, recording audio without her knowing. I took a seat across from her, keeping my tone even. Tell me the truth, Amanda, I said quietly. Who is he? She hesitated, chewing on her bottom lip, and I knew she was calculating her next move. But I was ready. I was going to get every lie out of her, and when I was done, she'd realize just how badly she'd underestimated me. Amanda shifted uncomfortably on the couch, her eyes darting between me and the phone on the coffee table. I kept my face neutral, but inside, my heart was pounding like a jackhammer. I needed her to slip up, to admit it, and I wasn't about to let her off the hook. She crossed her arms, tapping her foot impatiently. You're being ridiculous, Mike. I already told you, I don't know where that sweater came from. You're acting like a paranoid lunatic. I took a slow breath, forcing calm into my voice. Amanda, stop. Just tell me the truth. Who the hell is T. Carter? Why did he leave his sweater in our house? And why did you lie about working late when you were actually out drinking with him? Her face went pale for a moment, and I could see the gears turning in her head, trying to figure out how much I knew and how to spin it. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Who told you about that? She demanded, her tone defensive. I leaned forward, locking my gaze with hers. Does it matter? I know what I saw. Just tell me the truth for once, Amanda. Stop making me feel like I'm losing my mind. She hesitated, her mouth opening and closing like she couldn't decide whether to lie or come clean. Finally, she huffed, tossing her hair over her shoulder like it was all just an inconvenience. Fine. You really want to know? Yeah, I went out with him that night. We had a few drinks. It's not a big deal. My jaw clenched so hard it hurt. Not a big deal? You lied to me. Told me you were working late while you were out with some random guy. Who is he to you? She rolled her eyes, clearly annoyed that I wasn't dropping it. God, Mike, you're so dramatic. He's just a friend. We went out for drinks, that's all. Stop acting like it's some huge betrayal. Just a friend. I scoffed. Then why was he in our bedroom? Why did I catch you two on camera? Why are you lying about it? She froze, and I could see fear flicker in her eyes before she quickly masked it with indifference. You're spying on me now? Seriously? That's twisted. I wasn't letting her flip this on me. Not this time. Don't change the subject. Tell me why he was here. Why did you take him to our bedroom? I deserve the truth. She bit her lip, and for a moment, I thought she might finally crack. Instead, she let out a bitter laugh. You know what? Fine. Since you're so desperate for the truth, yeah, we slept together. Multiple times. Happy now? Is that what you wanted to hear? Her words hit me like a bullet to the chest, and I could feel my hands trembling with rage. I forced myself to stay calm, to not let her see just how much it destroyed me. I had to get through this. I couldn't let her manipulate me anymore. Why? I managed to choke out, my voice strained. Why would you do that to me? She shrugged like it was nothing, like I was overreacting to a spilled drink or a broken plate. Maybe if you weren't so boring, I wouldn't have to find excitement elsewhere. You're always working, always tired. You stopped paying attention to me, Mike. What did you expect? I clenched my fists so tightly that my nails dug into my palms. The sheer nerve of her blaming me for her betrayal made my blood boil. Are you kidding me? I work to support us, to give you the life you wanted. You think that's boring? You think cheating is the answer? She just gave me a smirk, completely unfazed by my outburst. Oh, please. Stop acting like a martyr. You're not some saint just because you bring home a paycheck. Maybe if you actually made me feel wanted once in a while, I wouldn't have to look elsewhere. Her words felt like poison, seeping into every crack of my soul and rotting away the last remnants of love I had for her. I couldn't even recognize the woman in front of me anymore. The Amanda I married was compassionate, loving, supportive. This creature sitting across from me, cold, manipulative, heartless, was a stranger. Wow, I whispered, barely able to contain my disgust. You really think I'm the problem, don't you? After everything I've done for you, after all the sacrifices, I'm still not good enough. She just shrugged again, eyes void of any guilt or remorse. Maybe if you weren't so pathetic, I wouldn't have to go looking for someone who actually knows how to treat a woman. I wanted to snap. I wanted to yell, scream, make her understand just how badly she'd shattered me. But what good would it do? She didn't care. She never did. I could see it now, all those times she picked fights over nothing, the sudden disinterest in our relationship, the constant excuses to avoid spending time together. It was all just a cover for her double life. I leaned back, exhaling slowly to keep from losing it. You're a real piece of work, Amanda. I loved you. I gave you everything I had, and you threw it all away like it was nothing. She just snorted, rolling her eyes. God, you're so dramatic. Maybe if you weren't so clingy and needy, I wouldn't feel suffocated all the time. I felt something break inside me, a final snap that left me feeling empty, hollow, and completely done. I reached over, grabbed my phone from the coffee table, and stopped the recording. Her eyes widened, realizing what I'd just done. What the hell is that? She demanded, trying to snatch it from my hands, but I pulled it back before she could touch it. That, I said calmly, is your confession. I'm done, Amanda. I'm done being your doormat, your safety net, your punching bag. You wanted excitement? Well, congratulations. You just got it. I'm filing for divorce, and I'm taking this to my lawyer. She stared at me, caught off guard, and I could see the fear creeping into her eyes. You wouldn't dare. I gave her a cold, bitter smile, the kind of smile I never thought I'd give to the woman I once loved. Watch me. I stood up and walked out without looking back, feeling lighter and more in control than I had in months. She was screaming something behind me, but I didn't care anymore. The truth was out. The lies were done. I was going to take back my life, and no amount of her manipulation was going to change that. Little did I know, karma was about to catch up with Amanda in a way neither of us could have imagined. I drove aimlessly through the quiet streets, my hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. The adrenaline still pumped through my veins, and my heart felt like it was trying to break out of my chest. I couldn't shake the image of Amanda sitting there, looking at me with that cold, unfeeling glare. The woman I'd built a life with was nothing but a selfish, lying scoundrel, and I was done being her victim. After about an hour of circling the block and trying to calm my mind, I pulled into a parking lot at a 24-hour diner. The place was nearly empty except for a few night owls sipping on coffee and staring blankly at their phones. I slid into a booth in the far corner, trying to ignore the gnawing ache in my chest. I ordered a coffee just to keep myself occupied, but I barely touched it. My thoughts kept spiraling back to Amanda's cruel words, how she blamed me for everything like it was my fault she couldn't keep her legs closed. I hated how much power she still had over me, how much I still wanted to scream at her, to make her hurt the way she hurt me. Just as I was debating whether to call my lawyer right away or wait until the morning, my phone buzzed with a call. The screen lit up with a number I didn't recognize. I hesitated, wondering if it was some telemarketer or scam, but something in me said to pick up. Hello? I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. Is this Mike Thompson? A gruff voice asked. Yeah. Who's this? This is Officer Grant from the LAPD. Are you the husband of Amanda Thompson? My stomach dropped. Why was the police calling me? Did something happen to her? Despite everything, worry gnawed at me. Yes, that's me. Is everything okay? The officer hesitated for a moment before continuing. Sir, I'm calling to inform you that Amanda Thompson has been detained. We need you to come down to the station to discuss the situation. My mind reeled. Detained? For what? There's been an incident involving her and another individual, Thomas Carter. I think it would be best if you came down in person to discuss the details. Thomas Carter. The bastard she'd been cheating with. I swallowed the sudden surge of anger and forced myself to stay calm. I'll be there in 20 minutes. I paid for the untouched coffee and practically ran to my car, my heart pounding with a mix of dread and grim satisfaction. Whatever mess she'd gotten herself into, she could deal with the consequences. Part of me wanted to leave her there, let her rot for all I cared. But curiosity got the better of me. I needed to know what the hell had happened. The police station was quiet when I arrived, and a tired-looking officer at the front desk pointed me to a small waiting area. After a few minutes, Officer Grant appeared, a stern, no-nonsense guy with a permanent scowl etched into his face. He gestured for me to follow him, leading me into a small, dingy room with a metal table and 2 chairs. I took a seat, and he dropped a file on the table before sitting across from me. Mr. Thompson, he began, folding his hands. We received a call from a neighbor reporting a domestic disturbance at your residence. My stomach twisted. What kind of disturbance? He glanced at his notes. Your wife and Mr. Carter got into a physical altercation. Apparently, she found out that he was involved with another woman as well. Things got heated, and according to witnesses, your wife attacked him. My jaw dropped. Amanda attacked him? The irony nearly made me laugh out loud. The thought of her getting a taste of betrayal herself was almost poetic. Is he pressing charges? I asked, trying to sound more serious than satisfied. Not at the moment, Officer Grant replied. But he did sustain injuries, mostly scratches and a minor cut on his face. Your wife was taken into custody for questioning, and she's being held until we can determine the full extent of the situation. I couldn't help it. A bitter laugh escaped my lips. So, let me get this straight. She cheats on me with this guy, then loses it because he's screwing around with someone else? The officer didn't respond, just watched me with a neutral expression. Sir, we wanted to inform you as her spouse. You can choose to post bail or leave her here overnight. It's up to you. I leaned back, rubbing my temples as the sheer ridiculousness of the situation washed over me. Amanda, so desperate for excitement that she went looking for thrills with another man, got betrayed herself. Karma didn't even wait. It hit her like a truck, and part of me felt sickly satisfied. But another part of me felt nothing but hollow emptiness. This wasn't how I wanted my life to go. I didn't want to feel this anger, this betrayal, this twisted satisfaction at her downfall. I just wanted my wife back, the one who used to smile when I walked in the door, who made me feel like I was the only guy in the world. But that Amanda was gone, replaced by a selfish, manipulative liar who'd been playing me for a fool. Officer Grant cleared his throat, snapping me out of my thoughts. Mr. Thompson, what would you like to do? Bail is set at $2,000. I didn't even have to think about it. Let her stay. She wanted excitement. She can deal with the consequences. I'm done cleaning up her mess. He nodded, not looking the least bit surprised. Understood. We'll keep her here overnight. If you change your mind, give us a call. I stood up, feeling lighter than I had in days. I almost felt guilty for leaving her there, but she deserved it. After everything she put me through, every lie, every betrayal, she deserved to sit in that cell and think about how she screwed up her own life. As I walked out of the station, the cool night air hit me like a slap in the face. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt a flicker of peace. I wasn't the bad guy. I wasn't the one who ruined our marriage. That was all on her. And now, she was paying the price. I drove home in silence, not sure what to expect when I walked through the door. The place felt emptier than usual, but for once, that was a good thing. I didn't have to listen to her excuses or watch her pretend she was innocent. I didn't have to endure her cold, heartless stares. I collapsed onto the couch, exhaustion finally catching up to me. It wasn't over, far from it, but for now, Amanda was out of my life. And I intended to keep it that way. I knew I still had to deal with the divorce, the division of assets, the fallout from the lies. But at least now, I wasn't trapped in that toxic mess anymore. I was free, scarred, bruised, but free. And Amanda? She could figure out her own mess. I was done being her safety net. The silence of the house felt unnatural. After everything that happened tonight, I couldn't just go to bed and pretend it was a normal evening. I sat on the couch, scrolling through my phone, wondering if I should text her parents and let them know what happened. But what was I supposed to say? Hey, your daughter got herself arrested after attacking the guy she was cheating on me with. Just thought you should know. Yeah, right? I put the phone down and leaned back, staring at the ceiling. My mind kept replaying the conversation with Officer Grant, trying to process how quickly Amanda's perfect little fantasy crumbled around her. The same way she tore my life apart, karma came back and ripped hers to shreds. And yet, despite everything, there was still a part of me that felt guilty, like I should have gone down there and bailed her out. But why? She didn't deserve it. Not after what she did to me. My phone buzzed again, and I half expected it to be Amanda somehow calling me from the station. Instead, it was a message from Mark, my best friend since high school. He'd been trying to reach me for days, but I'd been too caught up in the mess to respond. Mark, hey, man, haven't heard from you in a while? Everything good? I stared at the message for a minute, wondering how to even start explaining this nightmare. Finally, I just sent a quick reply. Me? Nah. Amanda cheated on me. It's a whole mess. Can I crash at your place for a bit tomorrow? Need some space. His response came almost immediately. Mark, what the F asterisk asterisk asterisk? Dude, come over tonight if you need to. My door's open. I've got beer and pizza. The offer was tempting. Being here, surrounded by memories of our life together, felt suffocating. I didn't owe her the courtesy of waiting around like some loyal dog. I grabbed a duffel bag from the closet and started throwing clothes into it, not bothering to be neat about it. Just the basics: shirts, jeans, underwear. My laptop, charger, a few toiletries. I wasn't planning on coming back for a while. As I was zipping up the bag, I caught sight of our wedding photo on the dresser. I picked it up, tracing the edges of the frame with my thumb. We looked so happy, so oblivious to how everything would fall apart. I wanted to smash it, break it into pieces just like she did to my heart. But instead, I put it face down and walked away. I didn't need reminders of that version of us. That version was dead and buried. On the way out, I couldn't help but glance at the mess Amanda left in the living room, her purse half spilled on the coffee table, one of her heels lying abandoned by the door. Part of me wanted to gather everything and toss it in the trash, but I didn't want to deal with her rage when she eventually came back. Let her figure it out. I wasn't going to clean up after her anymore. I locked the door behind me and headed to my car, tossing the duffel in the back seat. The engine roared to life, and for the first time in days, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. I was done with her. Done with the lies, the manipulation, the guilt trips. I was taking my life back. The drive to Mark's place was quiet, but my mind wasn't. I kept replaying every fight, every argument, every subtle hint that something was wrong. How did I miss it for so long? Was I really that clueless? Or did I just not want to see the truth? It didn't matter now. I couldn't change the past. All I could do was decide how to move forward. When I pulled up to Mark's apartment, he was already waiting by the door, holding 2 beers and looking more serious than I'd ever seen him. I got out, and he didn't even wait for me to reach the door before pulling me into a rough hug, clapping my shoulder. "Jesus, man," he muttered. "I can't believe she did that to you. You didn't deserve any of this." I forced a weak smile. "Yeah, well, guess I wasn't enough excitement for her." He handed me a beer, and we headed inside. The place was a mess, pizza boxes on the coffee table, clothes draped over the back of the couch, but it felt comforting, like a place where I didn't have to pretend to be okay. "Sit," Mark said, nudging me toward the couch. "I'm heating up the pizza. You're eating whether you're hungry or not." I didn't argue. I just dropped onto the couch, took a long sip of the beer, and closed my eyes for a moment. I didn't realize how exhausted I was until I finally stopped moving. When Mark came back with a plate piled high with greasy pepperoni pizza, I forced myself to eat even though I had no appetite. He sat across from me, his face a mix of pity and anger. "All right," he said. "Tell me everything. No holding back." So I did. I told him about finding the sweater, about the security footage, about confronting her and her cold-hearted confession. I even told him about getting the call from the police and finding out she'd attacked her lover. By the time I was done, Mark was shaking his head, jaw clenched. "That psycho," he muttered. "You're seriously better off without her. She's toxic, man. You know that, right?" I nodded, even though it still didn't feel real. I never thought she'd do something like this. I thought I knew her." Mark gave me a sympathetic look. "You knew the version of her that she wanted you to see. This was always who she was. You just didn't see it because you loved her. That's not your fault." I took another swig of beer, trying to let his words sink in. Maybe he was right. Maybe I'd been too blinded by love to see the truth. Maybe I ignored the red flags because I wanted to believe she was still the woman I fell for. We spent the next few hours just talking, mostly about stupid things, high school memories, old road trips, the time we got kicked out of a bar for singing karaoke way too loud. It helped, even if just for a little while. It made me feel human again, like I wasn't just a broken mess trying to piece myself back together. As the night wore on, I crashed on Mark's couch, too drained to think anymore. I knew I still had to deal with the divorce, the legal mess, and facing Amanda one last time. But right now, I just wanted to sleep and forget about it all. In the darkness, just before sleep claimed me, I couldn't help but think about one thing. How did I let myself become so blind to the truth? And would I ever be able to trust anyone again after this? Morning sunlight crept through the blinds, stabbing at my eyes and dragging me out of a restless sleep. For a moment, I forgot where I was, but the smell of stale pizza and the unfamiliar couch cushions quickly reminded me Mark's place. My head throbbed from too much thinking and too little sleep, and the ache in my chest hadn't faded. Mark was already up, sitting at the kitchen counter with his laptop open and a coffee mug in hand. He gave me a nod when I groggily sat up, running a hand through my tangled hair. "Morning, man," he called out. "You look like crap." I managed a half-hearted smirk. "Feel like it too." He pointed to the coffee pot. "Help yourself. I got some news for you, though. You're gonna want to hear this." Curiosity tugged at me as I dragged myself to the kitchen, poured a cup of steaming coffee, and leaned against the counter. Mark spun his laptop around to face me, his expression deadly serious. "So," he started, tapping the screen, "I did a little digging on your cheating wife's side piece, Thomas Carter." My eyebrows shot up. "Why?" "Because I know you, Mike. You're not going to move on until you know who this guy is." So I did what any good friend would do, found his social media, checked his connections. Dude, you're not gonna believe this. I braced myself, taking a cautious sip of coffee. Spit it out. Mark leaned closer, his voice low. Turns out, Thomas Carter isn't just some random fling. He's married. Happily married, according to his Facebook profile. Wife's name is Lisa, and they've got 2 kids. They live about 10 minutes from your place. My mind spun. Married? Kids? Amanda was screwing around with some family man? I felt a rush of anger all over again. What the hell? That's not even the best part, Mark continued, eyes glinting. Lisa's a lawyer. A damn good one. I did some digging on her too. She's got a reputation for handling ugly divorces. Ironically, she specializes in cases involving cheating spouses. I couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh. Amanda really screwed up this time. If Lisa found out about her husband's affair, she'd eat him alive in court. And knowing Amanda's luck lately, it was only a matter of time before the truth came out. Think we should tell her? Mark asked, raising an eyebrow. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to ruin Thomas's life just like mine had been wrecked. But another part of me felt weird about involving more people in this mess. Lisa deserved to know, though. She didn't deserve to live in the dark while her husband was running around with Amanda. Yeah, I finally said. She deserves to know. Maybe it'll give me some closure too. Mark grinned, pulling out his phone. Already ahead of you. Found her business number and left a message. If she calls back, I'll tell her everything. I gave him a nod, appreciating his initiative. As much as I wanted to put this all behind me, knowing that Amanda's lover was about to face the same downfall made me feel a little less like the world was stacked against me. A few hours passed, and I tried to distract myself by helping Mark clean up his disaster of an apartment. We were stacking pizza boxes when Mark's phone rang. He shot me a look before answering. Hello? Yeah, this is Mark. Oh, hey Lisa. Yeah, no, you don't know me, but I think we need to talk. It's about your husband, Thomas. I watched his face as he listened, and it didn't take long before his expression hardened. He motioned for me to come closer, putting the call on speaker. What about Thomas? Lisa's voice sounded cautious, but not overly surprised. Mark glanced at me before speaking. He's been cheating on you with my buddy's wife. We have proof, security footage from Mike's house. They've been seeing each other behind his back. There was a long silence on the other end, and I could almost feel Lisa processing what she'd just heard. Finally, her voice came back, colder and sharper than before. You're sure about this? Positive, I chimed in. My wife admitted it after I confronted her with the evidence. Your husband left his sweater at my place, and that's how I started digging. I'm really sorry, Lisa. You didn't deserve this. She took a deep breath, and I could hear her trying to compose herself. Thank you for telling me. I had my suspicions for a while, but I didn't have proof. Can you send me the footage? I'll handle it from there. Absolutely, Mark replied, giving me a nod to let me know he'd handle it. I'll send it right over. Before hanging up, Lisa added one last thing. I'm sorry for what you're going through, Mike. It sounds like both of us got screwed over by the people we trusted most. Yeah, I muttered, my voice tight with emotion. I hope you get justice. If you need anything else, just let me know. She thanked us again and hung up. Mark gave me a look that was equal parts pity and admiration. Well, that was intense. I nodded, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction settle in my chest. At least now, Amanda and Thomas wouldn't get away with what they'd done. I couldn't control how it played out, but it felt damn good to know that they'd both face the consequences of their selfish actions. As the sun dipped lower, painting the room with a golden glow, I let out a long, exhausted breath. It wasn't over, not by a long shot. I still had to get through the divorce, figure out how to rebuild my life, and learn how to trust again. But for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel completely powerless. Mark clapped me on the shoulder, giving me a reassuring smile. Hey, you're gonna be okay. You'll get through this. And when you do, you'll be stronger than ever. That's how it works, right? I managed a small smile, the weight on my chest easing just a bit. Yeah, I guess so. That night, we cracked open another couple of beers and played some old-school video games like we used to back in the day. It wasn't a fix for the pain, but it was a distraction, a reminder that I still had people who cared about me. And as I sat there, laughing with my best friend and slowly letting the tension melt away, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to let Amanda's betrayal define me. I was going to take back my life, one step at a time, and I wasn't about to let her or anyone else drag me down again. Little did I know, Amanda was about to face the biggest blow of her life, and this time, I wouldn't be there to catch her when she fell. The next few days passed in a blur. I stayed at Mark's place, sleeping on his lumpy couch and trying to piece my life back together one day at a time. I hadn't heard from Amanda since the night she was arrested, and honestly, I didn't care to. My phone buzzed occasionally with messages from mutual friends who'd heard about the fallout. Some sympathetic, some curious, but I wasn't in the mood to explain it to everyone. One afternoon, while Mark was at work, I was scrolling mindlessly through social media when I got a notification. My jaw dropped when I saw it. Lisa had posted a public statement on Facebook. Curiosity got the best of me, and I clicked on it, finding a long, furious message accompanied by several photos. Lisa Carter. To everyone who knows me and Thomas, it's time the truth comes out. My husband has been cheating on me with another woman, Amanda Thompson. They've been sneaking around behind my back while pretending to have perfect lives. I found out thanks to the husband of the woman involved. Thank you, Mike, for having the courage to tell me the truth. I'm filing for divorce and will be seeking full custody of our children. Thomas, you betrayed your family, and I won't forgive you. To Amanda, if you think you've won, think again. I'm making sure everyone knows exactly who you are. My heart raced as I read through the comments. People were furious. Friends and family of both Lisa and Thomas were piling on, calling him a disgrace, a coward, and worse. But what shocked me the most were the messages directed at Amanda. Turns out, Lisa had tagged her in the post. Now, everyone who knew both of them saw the truth laid bare. Some of Amanda's friends tried to defend her, but most were just as horrified, calling her out for being a homewrecker and a liar. One of her co-workers even commented, saying Amanda had bragged about her secret relationship at work. The backlash was brutal, and I couldn't help but feel a twisted sense of satisfaction. Just as I was reading through the chaos, my phone buzzed again. A call from Amanda. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the decline button. But something in me wanted to hear her pathetic excuses one last time, so I picked up. What do you want? I asked coldly. Her voice was frantic, on the edge of hysteria. Mike, you need to fix this. You have to call Lisa and tell her it's not true. She's ruining my life. My job's threatening to fire me. My parents won't even speak to me. Everyone thinks I'm some kind of monster. I couldn't help it. I laughed. A cruel, bitter laugh that I didn't recognize coming out of my own mouth. Fix it? Why the hell would I fix it? You made your bed, Amanda. Now you can lie in it. You wanted excitement, right? Well, congratulations. You just got the most thrilling drama of your life. Please, Mike, she pleaded, her voice breaking. I know I messed up, but I didn't think it would turn out like this. You're my husband. You're supposed to support me. Support you. I nearly shouted, my anger boiling over. After everything you did? You cheated on me, Amanda. Lied to my face, disrespected me in our own home. You think I'm going to cover for you now? You're out of your damn mind. She started sobbing, and I could almost picture her crumpled on the floor, playing the victim like she always did. I didn't think you'd actually tell anyone. I thought we could work through it. I didn't mean to hurt you. Oh, you didn't mean to hurt me? I snapped. That's rich. You didn't care about hurting me when you were bringing him into our bed. You didn't care when you were lying to my face. Don't start playing the victim now. She sniffled, trying to compose herself. Please, Mike. I'll do anything. Just talk to Lisa. Tell her it wasn't serious. That it was a mistake. I couldn't help but feel sick at how shameless she was. No, you're on your own. You burned every bridge when you decided your fun was more important than your marriage. Deal with it. I ended the call and blocked her number, finally feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. For the first time in days, I felt a grim sense of satisfaction. She was finally facing the consequences of her actions, and I wasn't going to be her safety net anymore. A few hours later, Mark came home and found me scrolling through the countless comments and reactions to Lisa's post. I showed him the screen, and he let out a low whistle. Damn, she really went nuclear, he said, impressed. Amanda deserves every bit of this. How's she handling it? She called me, begging me to fix it. I replied with a shrug. Like I'm going to save her after what she did. Mark shook his head, looking almost proud of me. Good on you, man. You didn't give in to her manipulation. That's progress. He was right. For too long, I let Amanda walk all over me, making excuses for her behavior and giving her the benefit of the doubt. But not anymore. I was done being the nice guy who forgave and forgot. That night, as we cracked open a few more beers and watched a game on TV, I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of relief. The woman who had destroyed me was finally tasting the bitter consequences of her actions, and I didn't feel a shred of guilt for letting her fall. A week later, I got a message from Lisa, thanking me for telling her the truth. She told me that Thomas had tried to deny everything, but once she showed him the security footage I sent over, he broke down and confessed. She was moving forward with the divorce and going for full custody of their kids. Hearing that made me feel lighter. I knew I wasn't the only one who'd been betrayed, and knowing that Lisa was taking control of her life gave me a strange kind of encouragement. If she could find the strength to move on and start fresh, so could I. Amanda's world was falling apart, and for once, it wasn't my problem to fix. I was done with the lies, the manipulation, and the toxic cycle that she dragged me into. I'd survived the worst of it, and now I was finally ready to start over. Mark raised his bottle, clinking it against mine with a grin. "Here's to new beginnings," he said. "To new beginnings," I echoed, taking a long, satisfying drink. Maybe I wasn't completely healed yet, but I was on the right path. I'd faced the truth, exposed the lies, and refused to let her drag me down anymore. From now on, I was going to live for myself. No more bending over backward to please someone who didn't give a damn about me. And as far as Amanda was concerned, she could rot in the mess she made. I wasn't looking back. The days that followed felt like waking up from a long, twisted nightmare. Each morning, I half expected to find Amanda sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone, pretending everything was normal. But she wasn't there. And that was a relief. Mark and I kept our routine pretty simple. Wake up, hit the gym, eat like crap, and binge-watch whatever garbage reality show was on TV. He knew I needed the distraction, and I appreciated that he didn't push me to talk about it unless I wanted to. I hadn't heard from Amanda since that desperate phone call, and I wasn't about to break the silence. Last I checked, she was still getting torn apart on social media. Lisa's post had gone viral in our circle, and everyone knew about the affair. People who used to worship Amanda were now calling her out, saying they always suspected she wasn't as perfect as she pretended to be. Funny how betrayal reveals the truth about someone. My lawyer had already filed the divorce papers, and all I had to do was wait for Amanda to sign them. Mark kept reminding me that this was just the beginning, that I had a long road ahead before I was truly free. But I wasn't scared anymore. I wasn't trapped in the cycle of guilt and anger. I was just done. One evening, Mark and I were in the middle of a ridiculous argument about whether pineapple belonged on pizza when my phone buzzed with an email notification. I glanced at it, expecting some spam, but my stomach twisted when I saw the sender's name, Amanda Thompson. I hesitated, not sure if I wanted to read whatever garbage she had to spew this time. But curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it. Subject: I'm sorry, Mike. I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I need to say this. I messed up. I know that now. Losing you, losing everything, made me realize how selfish and horrible I've been. I thought I wanted excitement, something different, but I was wrong. I threw away the best thing I ever had, and I hate myself for it. Thomas was just a distraction. I didn't even care about him. It was just an escape from feeling like I wasn't good enough. You were always working, always busy, and I convinced myself that I deserved more. That was a lie I told myself to justify my actions. I didn't deserve you. You were always so good to me, and I took it for granted. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I just needed to say that I'm sorry for everything, for betraying you, for lying, for breaking your heart. You didn't deserve any of it. You deserved better than me. I've signed the divorce papers and sent them to your lawyer. I won't fight you on anything. I know I've lost you forever, and I accept that. Just know that I truly loved you once. I just didn't know how to hold on to something real without sabotaging it. Take care of yourself, Mike. You deserve to be happy, even if it's without me. Amanda. I stared at the email for a long time, waiting for anger to flare up or sadness to take over, but I felt nothing. Just emptiness. Maybe a flicker of pity. Amanda wasn't a monster. She was just a selfish, broken person who couldn't handle the stability of real love. I wasn't about to forgive her, but I didn't feel like hating her anymore either. Mark glanced over my shoulder, reading the email, and snorted. Wow, real heartfelt. Too bad it's a few months too late. I shrugged. She's just trying to ease her guilt. It's not my problem anymore. He clapped me on the shoulder. Damn right. You've done more than enough. It's time to let that crap go and focus on yourself. Speaking of which, you're coming out with us tonight. I raised an eyebrow. Us? Yeah, man. I got a couple of friends meeting up at the bar downtown. You're coming. You need to get out and breathe some fresh air. You've been moping around here too long. I almost argued, but he was right. I was sick of sitting around feeling sorry for myself. Fine. But if it turns into one of your karaoke disasters, I'm leaving. He grinned. No promises. That night, I found myself standing at the bar, nursing a whiskey sour while Mark chatted with some girl who was way too out of his league. I leaned back, just soaking in the energy around me. It felt good to be out, away from the house, away from the memories. Just existing without the weight of betrayal crushing me. That's when I heard a soft voice next to me. Rough day. I turned and found a woman about my age, with warm brown eyes and a curious smile. She looked like the kind of person who actually gave a damn about how people felt. I couldn't help but smile back. You could say that, I replied. Just dealing with a bit of chaos. She raised her glass. To chaos, then. It's inevitable. I laughed, the sound surprising me. You're not wrong. I'm Mike, by the way. Emily, she said, clinking her glass against mine. You don't look like the typical bar scene guy. What's got you drowning your thoughts here? I hesitated, not wanting to dive into the drama, but something about her calm presence made me relax. Let's just say I'm getting out of a pretty nasty divorce. Needed some air. She nodded knowingly. Been there. It sucks. But you seem like the kind of guy who pulls through. I smiled, genuinely this time. Trying to. We talked for hours about life, work, stupid stories from our pasts. She made me laugh, and for the first time in ages, I didn't feel like I was drowning. It was just easy. Comfortable. When she finally had to leave, she gave me a warm smile and scribbled her number on a napkin. Call me sometime, Mike. I'd like to hear more about your chaos. I pocketed the napkin, feeling lighter than I had in weeks. When I looked around, I saw Mark grinning from across the bar, giving me a thumbs up. I flipped him off playfully, but couldn't hide my own grin. That night, back at Mark's place, I lay on the couch and looked at Emily's number, thinking about how strange it felt to smile again. Amanda's betrayal didn't define me anymore. It was just a chapter, one that I was finally closing. As I drifted off to sleep, I knew I wasn't healed yet, but I was on my way. I was finding myself again, piece by piece, and I wasn't going to let my past hold me down. The road ahead was still uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, I was ready to walk it without fear. Maybe, just maybe, I'd be okay after all.